What's up, everybody? So we got this Vette, this 1991 Vette inside. There she is, in all of its glory. Good old, you could just hear the bald eagles. So we are pro-charging this Vette, and yeah. So if you're not familiar with these vehicles, we've actually done a couple in the past. They do have some pretty big downsides. One of them is the tuning. So we're going to jump right into that. And well, I don't know actually where it is in the system on this one. And we asked the customer basically what we were tuning it on beforehand. And he sent us it was like a link description, whatever you want to call it, from the eBay store that he purchased it on. And it was supposed to be here sooner, but he opened it up and he said some parts are missing. So this is what I was looking for. So if you're old school and you've been doing this for a while, we're talking about, about 2000, 2001-ish. Then you know all about the FMUs. If you don't know, and you're a little bit younger, this guy right here is the FMU. And give me 1 second. As I open the bag here. So if you're not familiar what an FMU is, basically what this is going to hook up to is vacuum. And it's going to control how much fuel this thing is being delivered. So as pressure builds up, you can keep going. As pressure builds up, this is going to increase the fuel capacity. Now this is old technology. All you got to do is go on Google. Go on Google and type in, why are FMUs bad? And not only will you see the gobs of posts. Well, number one, you're going to see two things. You're going to see something that, if you're young, that you're a little bit unfamiliar with, which are going to be message boards, forums, and you're going to see everybody talking about these guys. And it's funny because when you find some posts on message board and you go do that, most of those posts are from so I hop back in here so they can work. You can hear them. You're using an angle grinder right now. I'll be back out there. I'll get some coverage. But anyways, what I was saying is if you go on the message boards, type in why are FMUs bad, not only will you see the posts, you're going to see the posts are literally from like 2001. So we explained this to the customer. We explained why he shouldn't go on it. We actually sent him the links. He made the decision that he still wanted to do it. So what we're going to do at the end of the day is we're going to put it on the dyno. We're going to see where the air fuel readings are and how accurate the FMU is doing its job. And we'll see the power that it's putting down. And that's about it. So we're going to cover this one and continue. So I'll be back here. I'll be outside showing more of the car, showing more of the work. So as we continue to work on this project, the intake manifold / thermostat area is leaking coolant. So you can see the coolant right down there. And it doesn't look like it's actually coming from here because this looks like it's been replaced at one point. But if you go, it's going to be hard to see too, but it's leaking over here and then it leaks down. So I called the customer up and I said, you know, hey, do you want us to get into this? Because ultimately it's going to be a lot easier to do anything over here when the ProCharger is not on. So it's just something, I mean, you know, it's a 1991. It looks like it, you know, has been maintained to a point. You know, it looks like new spark plug wires, but you can just see how old everything looks. So, you know, once again, when you're doing performance stuff, you got to make sure everything's in tip-top shape too to make it good. Over here, we got the wires ran, the relay over here, the fuel pump's down there. Now, normally there's a bracket right here that would support everything, but it's not there. So we're gonna have to also customize something with that so the fuel pump can be mounted properly. And then we have the oil pan over here draining out. We're gonna have to clean it up. Looks like it's got the original sticker on it. Clean it up, drill it out, weld the piece we have. I'm not sure what it came with, but we'll get into that too. And I just nailed my head on the hood. That was fun. And yeah, so you can see it's just, you know, the car's showing its year, showing how old it is. So we got the intake off. And yeah, it's definitely, the gasket's never been replaced. See the coolant inside there. Customer said too, for us to do a tune-up on stuff, it looks like it needs to be done. Looks like the wires have been done prior. Gonna have to throw a set of Kohler plugs in there, of course. And then he was running 87 octane on this, which they do recommend running premium after this. So that's where we're at. Dirty, dirty, dirty. So my tech just came up to me to show me the distributor, and look what we're dealing with here. So this piece actually popped up. If that was covering it, we wouldn't be seeing that stuff. So that's not going to be good for anything. And now we're trying to make more horsepower, of course, on this setup. So not good. And look how dirty his fingers are. What a hard worker. So as I was saying before the compressor kicked on, we found some injector wires that were screwed up. I didn't get a video because my techs are working and they're not waiting for me to come over and get video, but I got a picture of it, which I'm gonna shoot in there. See, the new distributor finally came. That's in there too. Showed you that. We also took out a spark plug because we have to figure out one step colder than the OEM plug. And this is what we took out. And I will say, if you're ever thinking about running a plug like this, please do not. Just don't. I asked a guy a while ago, I remember, that had these in his car, and I asked him why he went with these. And his response was, well, the NHRA, you know, it's on their cars, or, you know, there's commercials during the NHRA program. And I'm like, so just, if you value your car, don't run these, please. So we got that going on. You can see the FMU is mounted. We're welding up the oil pan right now. Now, in the instructions with the oil pan, they basically tell you just to, this is their wording, punch the oil pan and then just thread in the brass fitting. Well, you can kind of think about that. The brass fitting has a potential of just falling out. There's no nut on the back. There's nothing. So we're going to weld a bung on there because ultimately we're the last people that touch it. And yes, we know what the instructions say, but let's say he's driving out of here and let's say a week later that oil drying line comes flying off because there's nothing holding it on. Well, guess who he's going to call up? So that's why we're doing that right now. So just a little bit more time. We got to make the fuel pump bracket too. That's not on the car, which is going to take some time. And then whenever you're doing a kit like this, you know, we can give you an approximate amount of time, but you got to remember that some stuff might have to be replaced in between, especially if it's especially if it's an older car. I don't want to just say 1991 or 92 or even 93, 94, 95. I mean, everything has to be up to par. You're going to be, you're adding more performance, which means more stress on the motor and the whole system. So, I mean, what do you think is going to happen when it's not up to par? You know, there's going to be some other wires too that we're not going to ultimately touch, but you know, some stuff does need to be cleaned up, especially when you, like I said, you're trying to make more power. Here's just another view I wanted to get as I was talking. So, almost done on this one. Okay, I just popped back in here really quick. It's super loud out there. I was trying to get in a quick video so nobody was waiting for me to be able to cut or weld or do whatever they were doing back there. And you can hear the compressor is now on again too because they're doing something back there. What I was trying to say and get at too is any kind of projects like this, you always got to anticipate a couple extra days. His distributor, we had to order a new one in. That slowed things down a day or so. Customer called us too. He was wondering an ETA. I guess he said he daily drives this car, but there's only so much we can do in a certain amount of period, especially when we're waiting for parts. So, you know, whenever you're doing something kind of custom, or more so not, you know, I don't want to use the word custom, but, you know, if it's an oil change, okay, or, you know, maybe even a smaller job like an alternator replacement, but you're always going to run into stuff. And we're not just trying to slap things on and just get the car out of here. We want to make sure it's good. I will say this, that if he would have did a pull on those spark plugs, I don't think the motor would have lasted too long. And we're also trying to inform him and educate him as well why a different plug was needed, and also with the gas. And once again, it's on an FMU, so I don't know what it's going to do. If we can get this thing on the dyno just to see where the air fuels are at, we're going to definitely do that and see. It's just basically going to come down to time in my dyno schedule if I can slip it in here. So we're almost there on startup. See some of the pipes being ran. You can also see, though, this is how some of the piping has come. So we're going to cut that, of course, and hopefully they fit. That's not the cleanest cut, but the majority of them are like that, actually. So not too sure about that. We also, or I'll say my tech, found one of the spark plug wires literally just broken in half, I guess you can say. Do we have that over here or no? So remember, I was saying in the video how this looked pretty new and fresh, and this is how the plug. So you can see now, if one was like this, you can pretty much imagine that they're all going to be like that, but this one is the one that actually came apart. And then we had one of the spark plugs when we were taking the old one out. It wanted to take some of the threads with it, so we had to spend some time and clean that up. So basically, as you can tell, or if you've never done a job like this, you always got to account for things that might pop up. Now, we don't know what's going on with this, so hopefully this is not going to throw a big hurdle into the mix. The customer has called now 2 days in a row and has informed us this is his daily driven car, so he really needs it for work, which, you know, we've been working on it pretty much nonstop here. Besides, he did drop it off a couple days early, so we couldn't get on it, and we were waiting for stuff like the distributor. But that's what we got going on right now, guys. I'll be back with another update. So we're back by the vet, and it's super early, so the only noise you're going to hear is the next door neighbors grinding down granite. So we're having a little bit of a dilemma here, and our dilemma is pipe number 95, how it should be routed. So to give you guys some reference here, this is going to be the throttle body pipe that would go to the throttle body, and then this is coming off the actual ProCharger. Now, it's actually bumped up in diameter too, so we know exactly what pipe it is. So now what we're working with here is the ProCharger right now is loose because we can clock it. But looking at the angle here that we're trying to go for, it wants to come basically up and either in front of this piece, which of course we have all the AC stuff here, so that's not going to be a solution. And if we go above, so if we hook it up like this, and it just gives you an idea, I'm not going to try to push it in here, I'd have to go over there and have somebody hold it. It sits on top of the intake manifold, and then there's a portion in the instructions that says make sure hood closes, and then there's nothing else after that. I'll find in the instructions in a little bit and I'll show you guys. So that's what we're dealing with. The hood doesn't close when it's ran that way. Now, I have seen pictures on the internet where it wants to go, let me move this really quick, that it wants to go underneath this. Give me a second, I'll be back. the pictures we saw on the internet, basically this pipe wants to go underneath here. Now, if we rotate this down a little bit, look at the clearance we're dealing with here. Not a lot of clearance, so of course this pipe is not going to work. So we're dealing with that, and then the instructions are pretty vague for where the intercoolers need to sit. We know they need to sit over here. The problem is there's only one bracket that lines up. There's nothing else to bolt the other side to. So now we have to figure that out. You know, in a case like this, filter came off. In a case like this, we're gonna get ProCharger on the phone, see what they say. We didn't order the kit. He bought the kit off of eBay. So right now, seeing what we're working with, knowing that we got the right pipe in place because this is bumped up to fit over here, I'm going to say that it's not the correct kit or something's going on. I could be wrong, and if I'm wrong, then you know, we'll get it right. At the end of the day, we're just trying to get this to clearance, and you can see what we're running into. And this goes off the same thing without saying. When I mentioned in the videos before, you know, this is, yes, it's supposed to be a kit, number one, so it's supposed to be all both together. Number two, you know, how many kits are out there for this setup? It's not like a lot of people ProCharge this motor, and that's the thing that we also have going against us, because when we search for it, you know, you don't see a bunch of people saying, oh yeah, well the bracket's missing, you got to make it for the intercooler or such and such. So we'll figure it out one way or another, we'll get it done, but just the stuff we deal with. And I'll speak to the customer again today. You know, trying to tell him that stuff comes up when you're doing like a little project like this, and you know, you got to account, if it is your daily driven car, you know, stuff happens. So here's what we found out. I had my tech call up ProCharger. He was on the phone for about 20 minutes or so. We have a couple different things in play here. This kit is for a 9091. The Corvette is classified as a 90, but it's actually an 89. There's two different kits. So that's why some of the stuff is not fitting correctly. They also informed us that when these kits were originally made, these were more so like a do-it-yourself kit. They weren't a complete bolt-on type kit. This is what they told us. They would basically send it to their dealers, and they would handle it and finish it. Pretty much good luck with getting it all to fit. It's not just going to be a complete bolt-on affair. So that's what we're dealing with. The guy on the phone, he said that he spoke to one of the higher-ups there that's been with the company for a long time. He said that these kits have always been like this, and that's where we're at. So two different issues, I guess you can say, in a sense. We can make it work. Of course, now, you know, as I always say in my videos, or if you're new here, well, time is money. The customer's already, you know, wants to know why this thing wasn't done, which we're working on it nonstop. And now it makes sense why a lot of this stuff is not fitting like it should. So I would assume where most ProCharger kits that we have installed, mostly on newer vehicles, they're pretty much bolt-on affair. Now, we're not talking about a custom setup where you're rocking a different motor, but for this one, you'd think that it would be a complete bolt-on affair, not have any issues like we're having. But as you saw too, like even with that pipe before on this video, there's only a couple ways that it can go, and clearly it's, you know, it's like a puzzle, and the one piece we have that we know goes where it needs to go, it doesn't fit. So we are a fabrication shop. We can make things work, but as I said, more time, which is going to be more money. And I tried calling the customer. I'm waiting for him to call me back. He did not pick up. I have to let him know now what's going on, and we'll see what he says. He can also contact the company he bought it from. Like I said, I believe it was on eBay. Sure, they're not going to do anything about it. It is what it is at this point, guys.